What if you suddenly lost everything and had no one by your side? Maya Williams stood in the crowded hallway of Lincoln High, clutching the straps of her backpack tightly as dozens of eyes flickered her way. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting a cold glare on the sea of unfamiliar faces that twisted into curious glances and whispers. It was her first day at a new school, and though she'd done this before, the ache of being the new girl never got easier. Maya had moved halfway across the country from Detroit, carrying the weight of a fresh start on her shoulders and a secret she hadn't shared with a soul: she was a black belt in karate. The thought of using it made her stomach twist, not because she doubted her skill, but because trouble had a way of finding those who stood out. Still, as she walked down the hall, the tension was thick enough to slice through. Tiffany Morgan and her clique, the reigning queens of Lincoln High, had spotted Maya already. Their smirks spread wide as they whispered and nudged each other, clearly plotting. Maya's heart pounded, the old fight-or-flight instinct stirring deep within her. But she kept her head down, her eyes scanning the lockers, trying not to invite attention. The moment felt fragile, like the calm before a storm. The truth was, Maya wanted nothing more than to blend in, to go unnoticed. But the harder she tried, the more she seemed to stand out. She remembered the words her grandfather had taught her back in Detroit, after her father's passing: "Strength isn't just about the fists, Maya. It's about standing tall when the world tries to knock you down." Yet, standing tall wasn't easy when the world was watching and waiting for you to fall. As the bell rang, signaling the end of the chaotic transition between classes, Tiffany and her friends stepped closer, blocking Maya's path. "Hey, new girl," Tiffany sneered, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "What's your deal? Think you're better than us or something?" Maya's throat tightened. The words stung, but she refused to give them the satisfaction of a reaction. Her hands curled into fists at her sides, but she held back. Tiffany's eyes narrowed. "You're quiet. That's just weird." A few of the girls laughed. Maya took a slow breath and forced herself to meet Tiffany's gaze, steady and unflinching. "I'm just new here," she said calmly. "No big deal." Tiffany's smirk faltered for a moment, replaced by a flash of something like curiosity, or maybe it was suspicion. "We'll see about that." As the girls backed off, Maya felt a mixture of relief and dread. This was only the beginning. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough, she thought to herself, a silent challenge as she made her way to class. The halls were a maze of lockers and chatter, and every step Maya took was weighted with the fear of what might come next. She wasn't just fighting to survive her first day, she was fighting for the right to belong. Behind her calm exterior was a storm of emotions. Memories of Detroit flooded her mind, the lessons in karate with her grandfather, the quiet nights with her family, the loss that had shaped her into someone who knew how to keep her pain hidden behind a practiced smile. Yet here, in this new place, Maya wasn't sure if those lessons would be enough. The bell rang again, and the hall emptied quickly. Maya slipped into her seat in the classroom, hoping for a moment of peace. But even here, whispers followed her like shadows. Who was this quiet girl? What was her story? She could feel eyes on her, measuring, judging. She swallowed hard and forced herself to focus on the teacher's words. As the day wore on, small moments of kindness came in the form of Sarah, a soft-spoken girl who smiled at Maya from across the room. Maya wasn't sure if she was ready to trust someone, but the gesture sparked a flicker of hope. At lunch, Maya found a quiet corner and pulled out a notebook. She doodled absent-mindedly, trying to keep her thoughts from spiraling. The fear of the bullies was real. What if Tiffany and her clique made her life miserable? What if no one believed her when she stood up for herself? The weight of these questions settled deep in her chest. But beneath the worry, there was something else, a quiet strength she hadn't shown anyone yet. The black belt wasn't just a title. It was a promise to herself that she wouldn't be broken so easily. The last bell of the day rang, and Maya gathered her things. As she stepped outside into the warm afternoon sun, the weight of the day pressed down on her. She knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. But for the first time since arriving at Lincoln High, Maya felt a tiny spark of something new: determination. She would face the bullies, protect those who couldn't protect themselves, and most importantly, she would fight for who she was, even if no one else saw it yet. What happens when the toughest kids pick on the quiet new girl, not knowing she's a force to be reckoned with? The story was just beginning, and Maya was ready to write her own chapter. Maya's life had never been simple, even before she arrived at Lincoln High. Growing up in Detroit, she was raised by her mother and her grandfather after her father's sudden passing when she was just 9. Her father had been the one to introduce her to karate, teaching her that discipline and focus could turn pain into strength. The dojo was her sanctuary, a place where she could channel her anger, grief, and confusion into precise movements and powerful strikes. But beyond the dojo, life was often confusing and lonely. Her mother worked 2 jobs to keep the family afloat, and Maya often found herself caring for her younger brother, Jamal. Her home was filled with quiet resilience and tough love, but the loss of her father left a shadow that stretched across every day. Moving to a new city wasn't just about a change of scenery, it was about trying to rebuild a family fractured by grief and uncertainty. Maya carried that weight with her, but she hid it behind a calm exterior. At Lincoln High, she hoped to start fresh, but the reality was far from easy. She had learned early on that people often judged by appearances, and her quiet nature only made her a target for those like Tiffany and her clique. Yet, beneath her shy demeanor was a fierce spirit, forged through years of discipline and hardship. In class, Maya kept her head down, her mind drifting back to the lessons her grandfather had drilled into her. "Strength without control is chaos," he'd say. "Remember, Maya, your power lies in your mind and heart, not just your fists." These words became her anchor, especially when she felt overwhelmed. She had learned to protect herself not just physically but emotionally, building walls to keep the world at bay. Despite this, there were cracks in those walls where loneliness seeped through. Maya thought often about her family, her mother's tired smile, Jamal's wide eyes full of admiration, and her grandfather's steady presence during weekend karate lessons. These relationships were her lifeline, the reason she pushed forward even when the world felt harsh and unwelcoming. Sarah, the quiet girl who had smiled at her that first day, reminded Maya of herself, shy but hopeful. Slowly, Maya reached out, testing the waters of friendship, sharing small moments of conversation and laughter. It was in these small connections that Maya found a glimpse of belonging, something she had missed since leaving Detroit. But the shadow of the bullies was never far. Tiffany's group continued to circle like sharks, their teasing escalating from whispered insults to public jabs meant to embarrass. Maya felt the sting of isolation grow, but she refused to back down. Inside, the karate black belt she had wasn't just about fighting, it was about survival, about standing tall when everything felt like it was falling apart. Her past shaped her every move, every thought, and every heartbeat. The pain of loss, the strength of family, and the courage to face another day were woven into the fabric of who she was. In those moments, Maya wasn't just a new girl, she was a fighter preparing for a battle no one saw coming. Maya's first real clash with Tiffany's clique came sooner than she expected. It wasn't some dramatic showdown but a slow, simmering pressure that built day by day, corner by corner. It started with whispers in the hallways, a quick glance here, a snide comment there, as if they were daring her to crack. Tiffany and her friends were the kind of girls who ruled Lincoln High with an iron fist hidden behind perfectly manicured nails and designer smiles. They thrived on power, on being the center of attention, and anyone who didn't fit their idea of popular was a target. Maya tried her best to stay under the radar, but sometimes invisibility only makes you more visible to those looking for a target. It was lunchtime when it really hit. Maya sat alone at the edge of the cafeteria, a place she'd carefully chosen to avoid the crowded tables and the inevitable confrontations. She opened her lunch bag and took out a sandwich, her eyes flickering toward the noisy groups. Tiffany's table was loud, filled with laughter that had a sharp edge, like a warning. A group of girls nearby nudged each other and looked over at Maya, their giggles growing louder. Then Tiffany herself appeared, striding toward Maya with that same smug grin. "Hey, new girl," Tiffany said, her voice dripping with mock kindness. "What's the deal? Think you're too good to eat with us?" Maya felt the eyes of the cafeteria on her, a sudden heat rising in her cheeks. She shook her head, trying to keep her voice steady. "I just like it quiet." Tiffany's grin widened. Quiet? Sounds like a code word for boring. One of Tiffany's friends shoved Maya's lunch tray, sending her sandwich tumbling to the floor. The cafeteria erupted into laughter. Maya's heart hammered, but she didn't rise to the bait. Instead, she knelt quickly, picking up the food with as much calm as she could muster. The anger bubbled beneath her skin, but she swallowed it down. Fighting back here would only make things worse. Tiffany leaned in close, lowering her voice to a sneer. "You better watch yourself, quiet girl. We don't like people who think they're better than us." The warning hung in the air like a dark cloud. After Tiffany walked away, Maya felt a wave of hopelessness crash over her. The cafeteria suddenly felt colder, the laughter more cruel. She wanted to run, to disappear, but something inside her clenched tight, the same determination her grandfather had taught her to hold on to. She was not going to let them break her. That night, Maya sat on the floor of her new room, the glow of the streetlights outside filtering through the blinds. Her hands trembled slightly as she tightened her black belt around her waist, a ritual that helped ground her. Karate wasn't just a sport or a hobby. It was the language of her resilience, the silent promise she made to herself to stay strong no matter what. She remembered her grandfather's voice echoing in her mind, "Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. When life pushes you down, you push back harder." The next day, Sarah approached her between classes, her face tentative but kind. "Hey, Maya, want to walk together to the library? I found some good books on martial arts history." Maya blinked in surprise but nodded. That small gesture of friendship sparked a fragile hope. As they walked, Sarah shared stories about her own struggles fitting in, and for the first time since arriving, Maya felt less alone. Yet, the shadow of Tiffany's group loomed. Later that afternoon, as Maya and Sarah sat in the quiet corners of the library, the peace shattered. Tiffany and her friends burst in, their voices loud and mocking. "Look who's hiding in the library now," Tiffany sneered. "Trying to be a ninja or something?" The other girls laughed, but Maya's fingers tightened on the edge of the table. She stood slowly, her voice calm but firm. "Karate isn't about fighting. It's about respect and control." Tiffany's smirk faltered for a split second before she scoffed. "Whatever. Just don't think you're special." The tension was palpable. Maya felt her heart race, the old instinct to defend herself rising. But instead of reacting with anger, she turned and walked away, her head held high. That night, the bullying escalated. Maya found a cruel note slipped into her locker, "Go back where you came from, karate girl." The words stung, but Maya refused to let them define her. She called her grandfather, his voice steady and comforting on the other end. "Remember, Maya, the strongest people are not those who show strength in violence, but those who keep their hearts kind despite the pain." Over the next few weeks, the bullying took many forms: snide comments, exclusion from group activities, and whispered rumors. But Maya's karate training taught her to breathe through the pain, to hold her center. She began attending the school's after-hours karate club, a small group led by Mr. Lee, a patient and encouraging instructor who recognized her talent and potential. There, Maya found a new kind of family, students who respected her not for her silence or her looks but for her strength and dedication. Her confidence grew, and with it, a sense of belonging she hadn't felt since Detroit. Tiffany and her clique noticed the shift. Their attempts to break Maya only seemed to make her stronger, which only fueled their resentment. One afternoon, as Maya walked home, she found herself cornered in an alley by Tiffany's gang. Their voices were low and threatening. "You think you're tough, karate girl? Let's see what you've got." Maya's breath hitched, but she didn't back down. With a calm she didn't fully understand, she stood her ground, ready to defend herself if necessary. But instead of violence, she chose to walk away, leaving them sputtering in frustration. The encounter became a turning point. Maya realized that strength wasn't just about fighting back physically but about choosing when and how to stand up. The weeks rolled on, and slowly, the harshest edges of the bullying softened. Some students began to admire Maya's quiet courage, others were simply curious about the girl who didn't let the cruelty break her. Maya started to open up more, sharing pieces of her story with Sarah and her new karate friends. Yet, the most painful blow was still to come. One afternoon, Sarah approached Maya with a look of guilt. "I have to tell you something," she said quietly. "I didn't mean to, but I shared your secret. Tiffany knows you're a black belt." The words hit Maya like a punch. Betrayal stung sharper than any insult or shove. Maya felt the walls she built crumble, her heart aching with the weight of lost trust. Tiffany's group wasted no time. The next day, the whole school knew. Maya was the karate girl, the fighter, the outsider, who dared to be strong. Whispers followed her down the halls, some admiring, others mocking. For the first time, Maya felt truly alone. But even in that darkness, a spark of hope remained. Her grandfather's lessons echoed in her mind, reminding her that resilience was forged in fire. Maya retreated to the dojo, her safe place, where every punch, every kick, every stance was a step toward reclaiming herself. The bullying had exposed her secret, but it hadn't broken her spirit. Instead, it fueled a determination deeper than before, to face her fears, to stand tall, and to fight not just for herself but for anyone who had ever felt powerless. The story was far from over, and Maya knew the real battle was just beginning. The day after Tiffany's clique found out about Maya's black belt, the atmosphere at Lincoln High changed in subtle but unmistakable ways. Whispers followed her in the hallways like a shadow, and students who had once ignored her now stared with a mixture of awe and apprehension. Maya wasn't sure how to feel about the sudden attention. Part of her wanted to retreat deeper into herself, but another part, the part her grandfather had helped forge through years of karate training, urged her to stand firm. The following morning, Maya walked into school with a calm determination. She knew that once her secret was out, there would be consequences, but she refused to let fear dictate her actions. As she made her way through the crowded hallways, she caught Tiffany's sharp gaze from across the room. The look was less of a challenge now and more of a calculating appraisal, like Tiffany was weighing whether Maya was a threat, or a target. At first, Tiffany and her friends seemed to hold back their usual taunts, but the silence was uneasy. In homeroom, Maya took her seat quietly, but she noticed how the room felt different. People watched her, some with respect, others with lingering doubt. Sarah gave her an encouraging smile, and for the first time in weeks, Maya felt a flicker of connection. Yet the uneasy calm was shattered during lunch. Tiffany and her group approached Maya's usual quiet corner with a new energy, less mocking, more confrontational. "So, black belt, huh?" Tiffany said, her voice loud enough for nearby tables to hear. "We thought you were all talk." Maya looked up calmly, meeting Tiffany's gaze. "Karate is about discipline, not fighting." Tiffany laughed, but it lacked its usual sharpness. "Yeah. Prove it." Before Maya could respond, Tiffany's friend, a tall boy named Jake, stepped forward. "Why don't we see what she's got? A little demonstration, maybe?" The cafeteria grew quiet, students turning their attention to the brewing confrontation. Maya felt the familiar rush of adrenaline but resisted the urge to respond with force. "No," she said firmly. "This isn't a show." Tiffany's eyes narrowed. "Afraid?" she taunted. Maya's calm exterior cracked for a moment, revealing the hurt beneath. I'm not here to fight anyone. The tension was palpable. Then, unexpectedly, Jake shrugged and stepped back. Whatever. You're not worth the trouble. Tiffany shot him a sharp look but held her ground. This isn't over, she warned before turning away. Maya exhaled slowly, relief washing over her. But the message was clear, this battle was far from finished. Over the next few days, the bullying shifted from physical threats to psychological warfare. Tiffany and her friends spread rumors, trying to isolate Maya further. Yet, Maya found unexpected allies. Students who admired her courage began to reach out, forming a small but growing circle of support. In karate club, Maya trained harder than ever, channeling her frustration and fear into every punch and kick. Mr. Lee noticed the change. You're stronger than you realize, Maya, he told her after one intense session. Remember, true strength is knowing when to fight and when to stand down. Outside the dojo, Maya struggled with the loneliness that came with being an outsider. She missed her family terribly. Her mother's reassuring hugs, Jamal's laughter, and her grandfather's steady presence. Calls home became lifelines, moments when she could remind herself of who she was beyond the school walls. One afternoon, Sarah invited Maya to join a group project, a small step toward belonging. As they worked together, Maya shared stories about her life, her losses, and her dreams. For the first time, she felt seen, not as the new girl or the karate girl, but as herself. Yet, the peace was shattered one evening when Maya received a threatening message on social media. Watch your back, black belt. We're not done with you. The words were a stark reminder that Tiffany's clique was relentless. Maya's hands trembled as she showed the message to Mr. Lee the next day. This isn't just about school anymore, she said quietly. Mr. Lee nodded gravely. We'll make sure you're safe, Maya. You're not alone. That weekend, Maya's grandfather flew in from Detroit for a surprise visit. His presence was a balm to her weary spirit. They spent hours talking, practicing karate forms in the quiet of her backyard, and sharing memories of her father. You carry his strength in you, he said softly. Never forget that. The visit recharged Maya's resolve. She returned to school ready to face whatever came next, knowing that strength came not just from skill but from the love and support around her. The days that followed were a mix of tension and hope. Tiffany's group still tried to intimidate her, but their power was waning. Other students began to stand up, quietly but firmly, refusing to join in the bullying. Maya's courage inspired them, showing that strength came in many forms. One afternoon, a confrontation finally came to a head. Tiffany cornered Maya in the gym after school, her voice low and threatening. You think you're better than us because you can fight? Maya looked her in the eye. I'm better because I choose peace over violence. The words hung in the air, powerful and unexpected. Tiffany faltered, then sneered. This isn't over. As Tiffany stormed off, Maya felt a surge of pride. She had stood her ground without throwing a single punch. Walking home that day, Maya reflected on everything she had endured, the loneliness, the bullying, the moments of doubt. But through it all, she had grown stronger, not just as a karateka but as a person. She had learned that true strength wasn't about fighting to win but fighting to protect, to persevere, and to be kind even when the world wasn't. That night, as she lay in bed, Maya whispered a promise to herself: no matter what challenges came her way, she would face them with courage, heart, and the quiet strength of a black belt. The journey wasn't over, but Maya was ready for whatever came next. The days after the gym confrontation unfolded like a tense game of chess, each move cautious and deliberate. Maya's growing confidence began to shift the dynamic at Lincoln High in subtle ways. Students who had once ignored her now offered nods of respect or quiet words of encouragement. The karate club swelled with new members inspired by her resilience, turning into a refuge where strength was measured not by popularity but by character. Yet beneath the surface, the tension with Tiffany simmered. Tiffany refused to back down, her bitterness fueled by jealousy and wounded pride. She watched Maya closely, waiting for a sign of weakness, a slip that would give her the upper hand once again. One chilly autumn afternoon, as leaves tumbled along the cracked sidewalks outside school, Maya found herself walking home with Sarah and a few of their new friends. The group laughed easily, a warmth Maya hadn't felt in months. They talked about weekend plans, karate tournaments, and even shared stories about their families. For a moment, the weight of the past weeks lifted, replaced by a simple joy of belonging. Suddenly, a shout shattered the calm. Tiffany appeared, flanked by two of her friends, blocking the path ahead. "Thought you could just walk away from this?" she snarled. The group froze, the air thick with unspoken threat. Maya's heart pounded, but she stepped forward, her voice steady. "There's no fight here, Tiffany. Just let us pass." Tiffany laughed coldly. "You don't get it, do you? This isn't over because I won't let it be." Her friends closed in, smirks playing on their lips. The tension snapped as Tiffany shoved Sarah hard against a wall. Maya's instincts screamed at her, but she held firm. "Stop," she commanded, her voice cutting through the tension like a blade. Tiffany turned, eyes blazing. "Or what? You'll karate me to death." The mocking challenge drew the attention of passers-by, and suddenly the alley felt smaller, more dangerous. But instead of responding with violence, Maya took a deep breath and stepped between Tiffany and Sarah. "This isn't who we are," Maya said quietly but firmly. "There's strength in choosing peace, even when it's hard." Tiffany's face twisted with frustration, then something flickered, confusion, maybe respect. Without another word, she pushed past them and disappeared down the street. The group exhaled collectively, relief mingling with awe. Sarah looked at Maya with tears in her eyes. "How do you do that? Stay so calm." Maya smiled softly. "It's the hardest part, but it's also the strongest." That evening, Maya sat in her room, the city lights casting long shadows on the walls. She thought about the journey so far, the pain, the loneliness, the small victories, and realized she was no longer the scared girl who'd arrived months ago. She was someone new. Stronger, wiser, and ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The next week brought unexpected news. Mr. Lee announced that the karate club would host a demonstration for the school's assembly, a chance to show what karate really meant: discipline, respect, and courage. Maya was chosen to lead the demonstration, a role that both excited and terrified her. She spent hours practicing, perfecting every move, not for the applause but to honor the lessons her grandfather and father had passed down. On the day of the assembly, the gym buzzed with energy. Tiffany and her friends sat in the front row, their expressions unreadable. As Maya stepped onto the stage, the spotlight warm on her skin, she felt a surge of calm wash over her. The first kata flowed through her like a story, each movement a word, each stance a sentence. The audience watched, rapt, as Maya demonstrated the balance between power and grace, strength and control. When the final bow came, the gym erupted in applause. Tiffany's eyes met Maya's briefly, a flicker of something unspoken passing between them. After the assembly, students approached Maya with questions and compliments. Even some of Tiffany's friends nodded in respect. It was a small victory, but a meaningful one. That night, Maya's grandfather called to celebrate. "You're making your own path, Maya," he said proudly. "Remember, every step forward, no matter how small, is a triumph." In the weeks that followed, the bullying at Lincoln High faded, replaced by a cautious peace. Maya continued to build friendships, her circle of support growing stronger. She helped organize self-defense workshops, empowering others to find their own strength. Yet she never forgot the lessons of humility and kindness that karate had taught her. One crisp morning, Maya stood outside the school, watching the sun rise over the city skyline. The world felt vast and full of possibilities. She thought of her family back home, the journey she'd taken, and the battles still ahead. But for the first time, fear didn't grip her heart. Instead, there was hope, a fierce, shining hope that whatever life threw her way, she would meet it with courage and grace. The story of the new black girl at Lincoln High had become more than just about bullying or karate. It was about resilience, about the power of kindness, and about finding light even in the darkest moments. As Maya smiled to herself and stepped forward into the day, she knew this was only the beginning. Maya's transformation over the past months at Lincoln High was undeniable, but the path to acceptance was far from smooth. Just when she thought the worst was behind her, a new challenge tested her resolve in ways she hadn't anticipated. It began with a surprise announcement from the school administration. Lincoln High was hosting its annual multicultural festival, an event meant to celebrate diversity and unity within the student body. Maya was asked by Mr. Lee to help organize a martial arts demonstration as part of the festivities. Though honored, Maya felt the weight of responsibility pressing on her shoulders. The festival wasn't just an opportunity to showcase karate, it was a chance to bridge gaps, break down stereotypes, and show her peers that strength could come in many forms, regardless of race or background. As Maya began planning, she discovered that Tiffany's group was also involved, volunteering for a cultural dance presentation. The news stirred a mix of emotions. Resentment, apprehension, but also a cautious hope that maybe, just maybe, the festival could bring some healing. Over the next few weeks, Maya worked closely with Mr. Lee and the karate club, training new members and coordinating the performance. Her leadership blossomed as she mentored younger students, many of whom admired her courage and determination. Still, the tension with Tiffany remained an undercurrent. One afternoon, during a rehearsal in the gym, Maya caught Tiffany watching from the sidelines. Their eyes met, and for a moment, Maya saw something unfamiliar, curiosity mixed with respect. Tentatively, Tiffany approached. "Hey," she said awkwardly, shifting her weight. I wanted to say that your moves are impressive." Maya blinked in surprise but smiled. "Thanks. It means a lot coming from you." The ice cracked a little more when Tiffany confessed that she'd been struggling with her own insecurities, pressured to keep up a tough image. Maya listened without judgment, and in that conversation, a fragile thread of understanding began to weave between them. The festival day arrived with bright sunshine and a buzz of excitement throughout the school. The gym was transformed with colorful banners and booths representing cultures from around the world. Maya's karate demonstration was scheduled for the afternoon, while Tiffany's dance group was set to perform earlier. As Tiffany's team took the stage, their energy was infectious, their routine a vibrant celebration of their heritage. Maya found herself clapping along, genuinely impressed. When it was time for the karate demonstration, Maya led the group with calm confidence. The routines were sharp and precise, showcasing discipline and unity. As the performance ended, the applause was thunderous. Students who had once whispered behind Maya's back now cheered openly. Later, at the festival's closing ceremony, Tiffany approached Maya again, this time with a tentative smile. "I guess we're not so different after all," she said quietly. Maya nodded, feeling the weight of months of tension ease slightly. "We both want to be seen for who we really are." The festival marked a turning point for Lincoln High. Conversations sparked by the event began to break down barriers, and a sense of community slowly grew. Maya's presence became a symbol not just of strength, but of hope and reconciliation. Yet, the journey was still unfolding. Challenges remained, but with each step, Maya's story inspired others to find their own courage. One evening, as Maya practiced her forms in the quiet dojo, her phone buzzed with a message from Tiffany. "Thanks for today. Let's start fresh." Maya smiled, fingers steady on her black belt. The path ahead was uncertain, but she knew one thing for sure, she was ready. The weeks following the multicultural festival unfolded with an energy Maya hadn't expected. The fragile truce with Tiffany was growing into a tentative friendship, which was strange and wonderful all at once. It wasn't an instant fix, there were still awkward silences and moments when old wounds surfaced, but each small step forward was a victory. School halls that had once felt like battlegrounds began to feel more like places where Maya could breathe. It wasn't that the bullying had disappeared completely, some students still whispered, but fewer dared to cross the line. More importantly, Maya's voice grew stronger. She began volunteering with the student council, advocating for programs that promoted inclusion and respect. Her leadership wasn't just about karate anymore, it was about building a community where no one felt alone or afraid. One chilly afternoon after school, Maya and Tiffany found themselves paired up for a community service project. Their task was to clean and repaint the old playground equipment at a local park. The work was hard and dusty, but the shared effort broke down the last walls between them. They talked about their dreams, their fears, and the pressures they felt from friends and family. Tiffany confessed how hard it was to keep up her tough image, and Maya shared how karate taught her to channel pain into strength without hurting others. By the time the sun was setting, the playground looked almost new, and the two girls laughed more freely than they had in months. Back at school, the changes ripple outward. Other students, inspired by Maya and Tiffany's example, started forming new friendships across social groups. The karate club became more popular, not just for the martial arts but as a place of belonging. Even teachers noticed the shift, with more students speaking up against bullying and supporting one another. Maya felt a deep sense of pride, but she also knew her journey wasn't over. She still struggled with the loss of her father, the distance from her mother and brother, and the weight of carrying their hopes. One evening, after a particularly grueling training session, Maya sat alone in the dojo, the silence pressing in. Mr. Lee joined her quietly, handing her a cup of tea. "You're carrying a lot," he said gently. "But remember, you don't have to carry it alone." They talked long into the night, about family, pain, and the meaning of true strength. Mr. Lee reminded Maya that healing was a journey, not a destination. With renewed resolve, Maya began writing letters to her family back in Detroit, sharing stories about school, her new friends, and the battles she was winning every day. Writing became a way to bridge the distance, to feel connected and hopeful. Then, just as things seemed to settle, an unexpected challenge arose. A new student arrived at Lincoln High, a boy named Marcus, who quickly gained popularity with his charm and athletic skill. Marcus was competitive and, unlike Tiffany, less overtly hostile toward Maya. Instead, he challenged her quietly, questioning her place in the school and the karate club. His subtle jabs unsettled Maya, stirring old insecurities. Was she really accepted, or was this just another battle waiting to happen? Determined not to let doubt take root, Maya faced Marcus head-on. In a school assembly, when Marcus openly questioned the value of the karate club, Maya stood up to explain what karate meant to her and to many others. Discipline, respect, and the courage to stand up for oneself and others. Her words struck a chord with many students, including Marcus, who began to see her not as a rival but as a leader. Slowly, Marcus softened, even joining the karate club himself. This new dynamic added layers of complexity to Maya's world, but also new opportunities for growth and friendship. As winter approached, Maya's sense of belonging deepened. She was no longer just the new black girl or the karate champion, she was part of a community that embraced her fully. Family, friends, and mentors surrounded her, helping her heal and thrive. One snowy evening, Maya stood at the edge of the city park, the cold air crisp in her lungs. She thought about the journey that had brought her here, from the painful loss of her father, the loneliness of being new, the battles fought in hallways and hearts. Now, standing strong and hopeful, Maya understood that true strength was not just about fighting. It was about resilience, forgiveness, and the courage to open one's heart despite the risks. As snowflakes drifted softly around her, Maya smiled, knowing she was ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. Her story was no longer just about being targeted by bullies, it was about the power to change the story itself. Lincoln High had changed in ways Maya never thought possible. The icy grip of bullying that once threatened to consume her had loosened, replaced by a growing sense of community and understanding. Yet, as winter deepened and the days grew shorter, Maya sensed that her journey was far from over. There was still a storm brewing, one that would challenge her in ways she hadn't yet imagined. It began with an unexpected invitation. Maya received a message from the school principal asking her to join a student leadership council focused on creating a safer, more inclusive school environment. The honor was significant, but the responsibility felt heavy. Maya knew this role would place her under even greater scrutiny, with some students watching her every move, waiting for her to falter. But she also saw it as an opportunity to turn her experiences into positive change. In her first council meeting, Maya sat alongside a diverse group of students, including Tiffany and Marcus. The atmosphere was tense but hopeful. They discussed policies against bullying, ideas for school events promoting diversity, and ways to support students struggling with mental health. Maya's voice was steady and clear as she shared her story, emphasizing the importance of empathy and resilience. Over the following weeks, the council's initiatives began to take shape. They organized workshops on conflict resolution and self-defense, bringing together students from all backgrounds. Maya helped lead some sessions, blending her karate expertise with lessons on communication and self-confidence. The response was overwhelming. Students who had once felt powerless now found strength in community. Despite the progress, challenges remained. Some students resisted change, clinging to old attitudes and divisions. Maya occasionally felt the sting of whispered comments or sideways glances. But each time, she reminded herself of how far she'd come, and the support that surrounded her. One cold January afternoon, as snow blanketed the school grounds, a crisis erupted. During lunch, a heated argument broke out between two student groups, threatening to escalate into violence. The tension spread quickly, drawing a crowd. Maya and the leadership council sprang into action, working to defuse the situation with calm words and presence. Maya stepped forward, her voice firm but compassionate. "We're all here to learn and grow. Let's not let anger divide us." Slowly, the crowd began to disperse, the immediate threat averted. The incident was a stark reminder that the work toward unity was ongoing and fragile. That evening, Maya reflected on the day's events. She realized that her role was evolving, from a girl fighting to protect herself to a leader advocating for others. The responsibility was daunting, but it also filled her with purpose. Meanwhile, her personal life continued to be a source of strength and struggle. Phone calls with her mother and brother were bittersweet, moments of connection tinged with the ache of distance. Her grandfather's wisdom remained a constant anchor, his words reminding her to carry love and resilience in her heart. In school, Maya's friendship with Tiffany deepened. They still had disagreements and moments of tension, but their bond was real and growing. Tiffany's tough exterior softened, revealing a girl who longed for acceptance and understanding. Together, they became a formidable team, challenging stereotypes and setting examples for their peers. Marcus, too, became an unexpected ally. His competitiveness evolved into collaboration, and he often stood by Maya's side during council meetings and school events. Their shared experiences forged a respect that transcended rivalry. As spring approached, Lincoln High prepared for its biggest event yet, the annual talent show. Maya and her friends decided to perform a mixed demonstration combining karate, dance, and storytelling to highlight their journey toward unity and strength. The rehearsals were intense and joyful, a celebration of their growth. On the night of the talent show, the auditorium was packed. When Maya's group took the stage, the audience watched in rapt attention as they wove together movements and words, telling a story of pain, perseverance, and hope. The performance ended with thunderous applause, a standing ovation that echoed long after the lights dimmed. Backstage, Maya felt tears prick her eyes, not from sadness, but from a profound sense of accomplishment and belonging. She realized that the battles she'd fought had led her here, to a place where she could inspire others to find their own strength. After the show, Maya received a call from her mother, her voice warm and proud. "You're making us all so proud, Maya. Keep shining your light." The words wrapped around Maya like a comforting embrace. The months that followed were filled with growth and new challenges. Maya continued to lead, to learn, and to heal. She discovered that strength wasn't just physical, it was emotional, mental, and spiritual. It was the courage to face fear, the kindness to forgive, and the wisdom to know when to fight and when to stand down. One afternoon, while walking home with Tiffany and Marcus, Maya felt a deep sense of peace. The city buzzed around them, a tapestry of stories and lives intertwined. Maya looked at her friends and smiled. "We've come a long way, haven't we?" Tiffany laughed softly. "Yeah, who would have thought?" Marcus nodded. "From enemies to teammates. Not bad." Maya's heart swelled. The journey that had begun with pain and isolation had transformed into a story of connection and hope. She knew there would be more challenges ahead, but she was ready. With her friends by her side and her family in her heart, Maya was no longer just the new black girl or the karate champion, she was a beacon of resilience and change. As the sun set behind the city skyline, casting golden light on the streets below, Maya whispered a promise to herself. No matter what storms came, she would face them with courage, grace, and the unyielding strength of a black belt. Life was full of surprises, but love and resilience would always lead the way. Maya's journey at Lincoln High was entering a new phase, one that tested not just her physical abilities but her emotional strength and leadership. The once quiet girl who arrived shy and uncertain had become a catalyst for change, a symbol of resilience and hope. But life, as Maya knew, never stayed simple for long. Just when she felt the tides were turning, a new challenge came crashing in, threatening everything she had worked for. It started subtly, with whispered rumors and small acts of exclusion that Maya barely noticed at first. Some students, uncomfortable with the changes she represented, began to push back. Anonymous notes appeared in lockers, cruel and dismissive. Social media posts surfaced, spreading negativity veiled as jokes. Maya felt the familiar sting of isolation creeping back, but this time, she wasn't alone. Tiffany, Marcus, and a growing circle of friends stood by her side, offering support and solidarity. Determined not to let the hostility unravel the progress they'd made, Maya turned to the Leadership Council for help. Together, they developed a campaign called Strength in Unity, aimed at promoting kindness and respect throughout the school. The campaign included posters, assemblies, and peer-led discussions that encouraged students to share their stories and listen to one another. Maya spoke at several events, her words honest and heartfelt, reminding everyone that behind every face was a story worth hearing. Despite their efforts, the backlash intensified. One afternoon, as Maya walked through the school corridors, she encountered a group of students blocking her path. Their eyes were cold, and their words sharp. "You think you're better than us now," one sneered. Another shoved her roughly, causing her to stumble. The scene was tense, but before the situation could escalate, Marcus and Tiffany appeared, stepping between Maya and the aggressors. Their presence diffused the tension, and the group dispersed with muttered threats. That night, Maya sat in her room, the weight of the day pressing on her chest. The memories of past pain resurfaced, mingling with doubts. Was she truly making a difference, or was she just inviting more trouble? The phone rang. Her grandfather's voice on the other end was calm and steady. "Strength isn't about never falling, Maya. It's about rising every time you do. Remember that." His words were a balm, reminding her that resilience was forged in the fire of adversity. Renewed, Maya threw herself into the campaign with even greater determination. She organized workshops on conflict resolution and emotional intelligence, inviting counselors and experts to speak. She worked closely with Tiffany and Marcus to create safe spaces where students could express themselves without fear. Slowly, the tide began to turn again, the school community growing stronger and more compassionate. Meanwhile, Maya's karate skills continued to evolve. Mr. Lee introduced advanced training sessions focused not just on physical technique but on mental discipline and mindfulness. Maya learned to channel her emotions constructively, finding peace in the flow of movement and breath. Her practice became a refuge, a place where she could reset and recharge. As spring blossomed, Maya's efforts culminated in a school-wide event called Voices of Strength, a day dedicated to celebrating diversity, resilience, and community. Students shared performances, stories, and art that reflected their journeys. Maya and her friends performed a powerful routine blending karate, dance, and spoken word, capturing the essence of their shared experiences. The auditorium echoed with applause, and for a moment, the barriers that once divided them seemed to melt away. After the event, Maya received a surprise invitation from the city's youth leadership program. Recognizing her impact, they wanted her to join their network of young changemakers. The opportunity was exciting but also daunting, balancing school, family, and this new role would demand even more from her. Yet Maya welcomed the challenge, seeing it as a chance to amplify her voice and inspire others beyond Lincoln High. One evening, as Maya walked home with Tiffany and Marcus, the conversation turned reflective. They spoke about the battles they'd faced, the friendships forged, and the lessons learned. Tiffany admitted how much Maya had changed her perspective, breaking down walls she didn't know she'd built. Marcus shared his hopes for a future where strength wasn't measured by dominance but by empathy and cooperation. Maya felt a deep gratitude for the journey, a path marked by pain and healing, conflict and connection. She knew the road ahead would have its twists and turns, but she no longer feared the unknown. With every step, she carried the lessons of her past and the promise of what was yet to come. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of pink and gold, Maya looked up and whispered to herself, "This is just the beginning." The story of the new black girl who faced bullies with karate was no longer just about survival. It was about transformation, hope, and the power of a heart unyielding. Lincoln High was buzzing with a mix of excitement and nervous energy as the school year approached its final stretch. Maya had grown into a pillar of strength and leadership within the school community, but deep inside, she felt a new wave of uncertainty. With college applications looming and the pressure to define her future mounting, Maya grappled with questions about who she was beyond the black belt and the battles she'd fought. The journey that had brought her so far was leading her to a crossroads, where identity and ambition would collide. The school halls, once fraught with tension and hostility, now felt more like a place of opportunity. Maya's friends, Tiffany and Marcus, had become more than allies, they were family. Together, they navigated the complexities of senior year, balancing academics, extracurriculars, and the lingering shadows of their past conflicts. The Leadership Council continued to meet regularly, planning initiatives that inspired kindness and inclusion. Yet Maya knew that true change required more than just programs, it demanded personal courage and vulnerability. One chilly March morning, Maya found herself staring at a college brochure on her desk, the glossy pages filled with images of sprawling campuses and bustling classrooms. The future felt overwhelming. She wasn't just choosing a school, she was choosing the next chapter of her life. The question echoed in her mind, would she be able to carry the lessons of Lincoln High into a new world, or would she have to start over again? At school, Maya's role expanded as she was invited to mentor younger students facing challenges similar to hers. She shared her story openly, emphasizing the importance of resilience, empathy, and self-belief. The conversations were raw and honest, touching on themes of identity, belonging, and the power of community. Maya realized that her experiences were not just about her, they were part of a larger narrative of strength and hope. Meanwhile, tensions surfaced again when a rival high school challenged Lincoln High to a martial arts exhibition. The event was more than a competition, it was a chance to showcase unity and respect between schools. Maya was chosen to lead the team, a role that filled her with pride but also pressure. The weeks leading up to the exhibition were filled with rigorous training, team-building exercises, and moments of doubt. During one practice session, Maya noticed a new girl watching from the gym entrance. Her name was Jasmine, a recent transfer who seemed shy but curious. Maya invited her to join the team, sensing a kindred spirit. Jasmine's quiet determination reminded Maya of herself when she first arrived. Together, they pushed through the challenges, forging a bond that strengthened the entire group. The day of the exhibition arrived, and the gymnasium was packed with students, families, and local supporters. The atmosphere was electric with anticipation. Maya's team performed with precision and passion, their movements a dance of discipline and unity. When Maya took the floor for her solo demonstration, she felt a calm focus wash over her. Each strike and block was infused with the story of her journey, the pain, the triumphs, and the hope. The crowd erupted in applause as the final move landed, the energy palpable. Lincoln High had not only won the competition but had also earned respect and admiration. Backstage, Maya was greeted with cheers and hugs, her heart swelling with pride and gratitude. In the weeks that followed, Maya reflected on how far she had come, from the scared new girl targeted by bullies to a leader inspiring others. She wrote in her journal, capturing the emotions and lessons of the past year. Her grandfather's words echoed in her mind, "Strength is not just in the fight, but in the heart that never gives up." As spring turned to summer, Maya prepared for graduation with a mix of excitement and bittersweet nostalgia. The ceremony was a celebration of endings and beginnings, a recognition of growth and possibility. When Maya's name was called to receive an award for leadership and community service, she stood tall, the black belt around her waist a symbol of her journey. After the ceremony, Maya and her friends gathered one last time on the school steps. They talked about their dreams, their fears, and the bonds that would carry them forward. Tiffany admitted she'd been wrong to judge Maya so harshly at first, and Marcus promised to keep fighting for a world where everyone's story mattered. As the sun set, casting a golden glow over Lincoln High, Maya looked to the future with hope. The challenges ahead were unknown, but she was ready to face them with the same courage and resilience that had carried her this far. Her story was no longer just about surviving bullies. It was about embracing change, leading with heart, and believing in the power of transformation. With a deep breath and a steady step, Maya walked into the next chapter of her life, knowing that no matter where she went, she carried the strength of her past and the promise of her future. The summer after graduation settled in with a warm, golden haze that seemed to promise endless possibilities, but for Maya, it was a time of quiet reflection and restless anticipation. The black belt around her waist felt heavier now, not just a symbol of her karate skills, but a reminder of all the battles she'd fought, both inside and out. The friends she'd made, the enemies she'd faced, and the lessons she'd learned swirled in her mind as she prepared to leave Lincoln High behind and step into the unknown world beyond. Maya spent the first weeks of summer reconnecting with her family back in Detroit through long phone calls and letters. The distance made the conversations bittersweet, filled with stories of her growth and their daily lives. Her mother's voice carried both pride and worry, a blend of encouragement and the pain of being so far away. Maya promised to visit soon, knowing that the journey home would be as much about healing as about reunion. At home in her new city, Maya found solace in the familiar rhythm of training at the dojo with Mr. Lee. The quiet discipline of martial arts remained her anchor, a place where she could focus, breathe, and remember who she was beneath the layers of expectation and change. Mr. Lee, sensing the weight on her shoulders, encouraged her to explore not just physical strength but the deeper strength that comes from understanding oneself. One afternoon, as they practiced katas under the fading light, Mr. Lee shared a story from his own past, a time when he faced doubt and loss but found clarity through patience and perseverance. Maya listened, absorbing the wisdom, feeling her own resolve deepen. She realized that the path ahead would demand more than skill, it would require courage to embrace vulnerability and trust in the journey. Summer days blurred into evenings filled with community events and volunteer work. Maya joined a local youth outreach program, mentoring younger kids who struggled with bullying and self-esteem. Sharing her story openly, she became a beacon of hope and resilience, helping others see that strength comes in many forms. The connections she built there enriched her, reminding her that healing was not just personal but collective. Amid this busy time, Maya received news that shook her: her grandfather's health was declining. The man who had been her steadfast supporter and guiding light was now fragile, his body betraying the spirit that had always inspired her. Maya rushed back to Detroit, feeling a mix of fear and determination. She spent days at his side, listening to his stories, holding his hand, and sharing her own dreams. One evening, as the sun set over the city skyline, her grandfather spoke softly, "Remember, Maya, life's true strength is in love and forgiveness. Carry that with you, always." His words settled in her heart like a gentle promise. Returning home, Maya felt a renewed sense of purpose. The challenges she'd faced and the lessons she'd learned were threads weaving a tapestry of resilience, compassion, and hope. She knew that her journey was far from over, but with each step, she was ready to face whatever came next. As summer faded into fall, Maya prepared to start college, a new adventure filled with promise and uncertainty. The black belt, the battles, and the friendships had shaped her, but the future was hers to define. Standing at the threshold of change, Maya embraced the truth that strength was not about perfection or victory but about the courage to keep moving forward, no matter the obstacles. With a heart full of hope and a spirit unbroken, Maya stepped into the next chapter of her life, ready to write a story that was uniquely hers, one of resilience, love, and endless possibility. Maya's first weeks at college unfolded like a whirlwind, new faces, unfamiliar classrooms, and the dizzying excitement of independence. The campus was a sprawling blend of historic buildings and modern glass, alive with energy and possibility. Yet amid the vibrant chaos, Maya felt a familiar pang of uncertainty. She was no longer the girl defined by the black belt or the battles at Lincoln High. Here, she was just one among thousands, a small piece of a much bigger puzzle. Classes were challenging, pushing Maya to think critically and engage in conversations that stretched her understanding of the world. She majored in psychology, driven by a desire to understand the complexities of human behavior, the struggles she'd seen, the pain she'd endured, and the resilience she'd witnessed. Her professors recognized her passion, and soon she was involved in research projects and student organizations focused on mental health advocacy. Though busy, Maya made time for karate, joining the university's martial arts club. The dojo was different here, more competitive, diverse, and intense. Training sessions tested her endurance and skills, but also introduced her to new styles and philosophies. She found a kindred spirit in Jasmine, the transfer student from Lincoln High who had joined the club. Their shared history and mutual respect blossomed into a close friendship, grounding Maya through the adjustment. Socially, Maya faced the usual college challenges. Finding her tribe, navigating dorm life, and balancing independence with connection. At times, she missed the tight-knit community of Lincoln High, the friends who had been her family. But new friendships formed gradually, built on shared interests and honest conversations. Maya learned to open up, revealing not just her strength but her vulnerabilities. One chilly October evening, the campus was abuzz with anticipation for the annual Fall Festival. Maya and her friends, Jasmine, Marcus, and Tiffany, who had also enrolled nearby, decided to volunteer together, helping organize activities and create a welcoming atmosphere. The event was a celebration of diversity and unity, featuring music, food, and performances from various cultural groups. As the festival unfolded under twinkling lights, Maya took the stage with Jasmine to demonstrate a martial arts routine inspired by their journey. Their movements told a story, of struggle, resilience, and hope, resonating deeply with the crowd. The applause was thunderous, but more meaningful was the sense of connection and shared humanity. After the performance, Maya found herself in a quiet corner with Marcus and Tiffany, reflecting on how far they'd come. Who would have thought, right? Tiffany laughed softly. From fighting in hallways to leading on stage. Marcus nodded, adding, "It's crazy how much we've all grown." Maya smiled, feeling the warmth of friendship and the power of transformation. Yet beneath the surface, she sensed that her journey was still unfolding. College was teaching her new lessons about identity, purpose, and the importance of community in healing and growth. One afternoon, while studying in the library, Maya received an unexpected call from her mother. The voice on the other end was strained but hopeful. Her grandfather had passed peacefully, surrounded by family. The news hit Maya hard, stirring a storm of grief and gratitude. Though the loss was profound, she felt a deep sense of peace knowing her grandfather's final words had been a guiding light. Returning home for the funeral, Maya was embraced by family and old friends, their shared sorrow and memories weaving a tapestry of love and support. She delivered a eulogy that spoke of resilience, love, and the power of legacy, a tribute to the man who had shaped her courage and heart. Back at college, Maya carried her grandfather's spirit with her, drawing strength from his wisdom as she navigated new challenges. She deepened her commitment to advocacy and leadership, joining initiatives to combat bullying and promote mental health awareness. Her story, once marked by pain and isolation, had become a beacon for others seeking hope. As the semester progressed, Maya found herself standing at the intersection of past and future, carrying lessons learned and dreams yet to be realized. The black belt around her waist was no longer just a symbol of karate, it was a testament to the strength of the human spirit, the courage to face adversity, and the endless possibility of transformation. One evening, walking across the campus under a sky painted with stars, Maya whispered a promise to herself, to keep fighting, to keep loving, and to keep shining her light, no matter what lay ahead. The journey was far from over, but with each step, she was becoming the woman she was always meant to be. Maya's second semester at college brought new challenges that tested not only her physical and mental strength but also her capacity for forgiveness and understanding. The excitement of a fresh start had gradually settled into the everyday rhythm of classes, study sessions, and extracurricular activities, but beneath the surface, a storm was brewing. Unexpected tensions with some classmates, coupled with the pressure of maintaining her leadership roles, began to weigh heavily on her. It was a period marked by internal conflict as much as external demands. One afternoon, during a group project for her psychology class, Maya encountered resistance from a fellow student named Brooke. Brooke was outspoken and quick to dismiss Maya's ideas, often interrupting or undermining her contributions. At first, Maya tried to ignore the snide remarks, reminding herself of her progress and the importance of staying focused. But the tension escalated when Brooke publicly challenged Maya's perspectives during a presentation, turning the moment into a subtle confrontation. The audience shifted uncomfortably, and Maya felt the familiar sting of being misunderstood and judged. Determined not to let the conflict derail her, Maya reached out to Brooke privately, hoping to clear the air. Their conversation was tense but honest. Brooke revealed that she felt threatened by Maya's confidence and leadership, uncertain of how to relate to someone who seemed so self-assured. Maya listened, recognizing the pain beneath Brooke's defensiveness. They agreed to set aside their differences and work together, turning the conflict into an opportunity for growth and collaboration. Meanwhile, Maya's relationship with Jasmine deepened. They shared late-night talks about dreams, fears, and the weight of expectations. Jasmine confided her struggles with feeling invisible in a new environment, while Maya shared the lingering doubts about living up to her own legacy. Their bond was a source of comfort and strength, reminding Maya that even the strongest people needed connection and empathy. As spring approached, the campus announced a leadership retreat designed to foster resilience and teamwork among student leaders. Maya was selected to represent her organization, a recognition of her impact but also a daunting challenge. The retreat promised intense workshops, outdoor challenges, and moments of reflection, an experience that would push Maya to confront her fears and expand her understanding of strength. During the retreat, Maya found herself outside her comfort zone. Physical obstacles tested her endurance, while group exercises challenged her to trust others and embrace vulnerability. One night, gathered around a campfire, Maya shared her story openly with the group, the pain of bullying, the journey through karate, and the lessons learned about resilience and love. Her honesty resonated deeply, inspiring others to open up and forge new connections. In the final session, the group was asked to write letters to their future selves, expressing hopes and commitments. Maya wrote about embracing change, leading with compassion, and continuing to fight for justice and kindness. The retreat became a turning point, reinforcing her belief that true strength comes from community and courage to be authentic. Back on campus, Maya applied these lessons to her everyday life. She took on new initiatives to create inclusive spaces and support mental health, partnering with campus organizations to amplify voices often overlooked. Her leadership style evolved, balancing confidence with humility, action with reflection. Yet the path was not without setbacks. Maya faced moments of self-doubt and exhaustion, questioning whether she could sustain the momentum. When a close friend unexpectedly withdrew from their circle, Maya grappled with feelings of loss and loneliness. It was a reminder that growth often involves pain and letting go. Throughout these challenges, Maya returned to her martial arts practice, finding solace and clarity in the disciplined flow of movement. Karate became more than physical training, it was meditation, a way to connect mind, body, and spirit. Under Mr. Lee's guidance, she explored new dimensions of mindfulness and resilience, deepening her understanding of strength as balance and presence. As the semester drew to a close, Maya prepared to present a research project on the psychological effects of bullying and empowerment. The work was deeply personal, blending academic rigor with her lived experience. The presentation was met with thoughtful questions and applause, affirming her commitment to turning pain into purpose. Walking across campus one crisp evening, Maya reflected on her journey, the battles fought, the friendships forged, and the lessons embraced. The black belt she wore was a symbol of a path marked by struggle and triumph, but more importantly, it was a reminder that strength was not just about fighting back, it was about standing tall with grace, compassion, and an open heart. Looking ahead, Maya felt ready to face whatever challenges the future held. Her story was still unfolding, a tapestry woven with threads of courage, love, and transformation. And as she moved forward, she carried with her the unwavering belief that no matter the obstacles, strength born from kindness and resilience could change not only her world but the world around her. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? The summer after Maya's sophomore year unfolded with a mix of reflection and new beginnings. The campus grew quieter as students scattered for internships, travel, and family time, but Maya's schedule remained full with a part-time job at a local community center and ongoing volunteer work mentoring youth. The balance was sometimes exhausting, but it grounded her and reminded her of the larger purpose behind her studies and efforts. This summer was less about escape and more about planting seeds for the future. One afternoon, while helping organize a summer camp for at-risk teens, Maya met a boy named Eli. He was guarded and skeptical at first, reluctant to join activities or trust adults. Maya saw something familiar in his eyes, the pain of feeling unseen and unheard. Drawing on her experience, she patiently built rapport, encouraging him with small victories and steady support. Slowly, Eli began to open up, sharing fragments of his story and beginning to believe in the possibility of change. This mentorship deepened Maya's understanding of healing as a process, not instant or linear, but gradual and often messy. She realized that her own journey was ongoing, filled with moments of doubt and breakthrough. Working with Eli and others fueled her desire to make a lasting impact beyond the dojo and the classroom. At home, Maya continued to grapple with complex family dynamics. Her mother's hopes and worries were ever present, and conversations with her younger sister were sometimes fraught with tension and tenderness. Maya's role as both a role model and a bridge between generations was challenging but vital. She learned the importance of patience, listening, and forgiveness in nurturing these bonds. Meanwhile, Maya's relationship with Jasmine grew stronger. They navigated the joys and challenges of young adulthood together, college pressures, personal growth, and the bittersweet experience of change. Their friendship was a sanctuary, a space where they could be vulnerable and authentic without judgment. Toward the end of summer, Maya received an invitation to speak at a community event focused on bullying prevention and youth empowerment. Preparing for the speech was both exciting and nerve-wracking. She wanted to share her story honestly, highlighting not just the pain but the power of resilience and connection. On the day of the event, Maya stood before a diverse crowd, parents, students, educators, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and determination. She spoke of her early days at Lincoln High, the bullying she endured, and the role karate played in helping her find strength and confidence. More importantly, she emphasized the need for empathy and collective action to create safe, supportive environments for all young people. Her words resonated deeply, sparking conversations and inspiring commitment among attendees. Maya felt a profound sense of purpose, knowing that her experiences could help others find their own paths to healing and empowerment. As the summer faded into fall, Maya prepared to return to college with renewed energy and clarity. The challenges ahead were many, but so were the opportunities. She continued to grow as a student, leader, and friend, embracing the complexities of life with courage and compassion. One crisp autumn evening, walking through the campus gardens with Jasmine, Maya reflected on the journey that had brought her here, the struggles, the victories, the people who had shaped her. She realized that her story was not just about overcoming adversity but about the ongoing process of becoming, of learning, evolving, and choosing love even in the face of hardship. With the black belt tied firmly around her waist and a heart full of hope, Maya stepped forward into the future, ready to face whatever came next with strength, grace, and an unbreakable spirit. The onset of Maya's junior year brought with it a fresh wave of challenges and opportunities, marking a critical turning point in her journey of self-discovery and leadership. College life was no longer a tentative exploration but a deeply immersive experience filled with demanding courses, new responsibilities, and evolving relationships. The campus, with its sprawling quads and lively student centers, buzzed with energy and ambition, but Maya felt an undercurrent of pressure that accompanied the growing expectations she placed on herself. Academically, Maya was thriving yet pushed to her limits. Her psychology major required rigorous study and thoughtful analysis, and she found herself increasingly drawn to research on trauma, resilience, and the social dynamics of bullying. A professor recognized her dedication and invited her to assist with a groundbreaking project examining the impact of peer support on adolescent mental health. This opportunity was both thrilling and daunting, demanding long hours and emotional investment, but Maya embraced it wholeheartedly, knowing it aligned with her passion for advocacy and healing. In her leadership role within the Campus Mental Health Coalition, Maya spearheaded several initiatives aimed at creating safer, more inclusive environments. She organized workshops on conflict resolution, hosted guest speakers who shared stories of overcoming adversity, and collaborated with campus security to improve reporting and support systems for bullying and harassment. These efforts, though sometimes met with bureaucratic resistance, were vital to Maya's vision of transforming the culture around her. However, the mounting responsibilities took a toll. Maya wrestled with bouts of anxiety and self-doubt, moments when the weight of expectations felt overwhelming. Late nights were often spent journaling or practicing meditation, tools she had cultivated through her martial arts training to regain focus and calm. Mr. Lee's voice echoed in her mind, "True strength is knowing when to push forward and when to pause." Maya learned to honor these rhythms, balancing action with self-care. Socially, her circle of friends remained a crucial source of support. Jasmine, Marcus, and Tiffany were constants, friends who celebrated victories, offered comfort in setbacks, and challenged Maya to grow. Together, they navigated the complexities of young adulthood, sharing laughter, late-night talks, and moments of vulnerability that deepened their bonds. A significant development occurred when Maya was invited to speak at a regional conference on bullying prevention. Preparing her keynote address required introspection and courage. She chose to frame her narrative not as a tale of victimhood but as one of empowerment and transformation. She highlighted the importance of community, resilience, and empathy, urging attendees to become agents of change in their own spheres. The conference was a turning point. Maya's speech resonated widely, opening doors to new collaborations and expanding her network of mentors and allies. The experience affirmed her commitment to advocacy, inspiring her to envision a future where she could amplify her impact beyond campus. Yet, amid these successes, Maya faced unexpected personal challenges. Her mother's health declined, necessitating frequent trips home and difficult conversations about family responsibility and sacrifice. Balancing these demands with academic and leadership commitments tested Maya's resilience and forced her to confront complex emotions around duty, grief, and hope. Through these trials, Maya drew strength from the core lessons of her journey: love, forgiveness, and the power of connection. She leaned on friends, mentors, and her martial arts discipline to navigate the storms, emerging with greater clarity and purpose. As the semester progressed, Maya's sense of identity continued to evolve. The black belt she wore was no longer merely a symbol of physical prowess but a metaphor for the balance she sought between strength and compassion, ambition and humility. Her story was one of continuous growth, a testament to the enduring human spirit's capacity to heal, transform, and lead. One crisp evening, standing beneath a sky sprinkled with stars, Maya reflected on the path that had brought her here, from the bullied new girl at Lincoln High to a confident, compassionate leader. The journey was far from over, but she was ready to face the future with open arms and an unbreakable heart, knowing that every challenge was an opportunity to deepen her strength and expand her impact. Maya's senior year dawned with a mix of excitement and bittersweet anticipation. The culmination of years of hard work and personal growth, this final chapter of her college journey felt both like a triumphant arrival and a daunting new beginning. The campus, familiar yet ever-changing, buzzed with the energy of students poised to take their next steps into the world. For Maya, every day was a reminder of how far she had come, from the new girl at Lincoln High who had faced bullying and isolation to a confident young woman ready to make her mark. Academically, Maya was at the peak of her focus and determination. Her capstone project, a comprehensive study on the psychological impact of bullying and effective intervention strategies, combined her personal experiences with the academic rigor she had honed over the years. Late nights in the library were filled with research, analysis, and writing, but also with moments of reflection on the journey that had shaped her passion. This project was more than a graduation requirement, it was a tribute to the resilience and hope she wanted to share with the world. Her leadership roles expanded beyond the campus as well. Maya was invited to participate in national conferences, collaborate with non-profit organizations, and contribute to publications focused on youth empowerment and mental health. Each opportunity reinforced her belief that her story could inspire change on a larger scale. She embraced the challenge of balancing these commitments with her studies, knowing that this was the foundation for the work she wanted to pursue after college. Socially, Maya treasured the deep friendships she had cultivated. Jasmine remained a steadfast confidant, their bond a source of strength through the pressures of senior year. Marcus and Tiffany continued to be pillars of support, reminding Maya to celebrate victories, no matter how small, and to lean into community when the weight of the world felt heavy. Together, they navigated the complexities of transition. Job searches, graduate school applications, and the bittersweet reality of impending goodbyes. A highlight of the year came when Maya was asked to deliver the commencement address for the psychology department. Preparing this speech was an emotional journey, weaving together threads of vulnerability, strength, and hope. She chose to speak not only about overcoming adversity but about the power of empathy, connection, and the courage to lead with heart. The day of the ceremony, standing before peers and professors, Maya's words resonated deeply, earning her a standing ovation and cementing her role as a voice of inspiration. Despite these triumphs, the year was not without its challenges. The loss of her grandfather, still fresh in her heart, occasionally cast long shadows. Family responsibilities persisted, requiring Maya to balance care and ambition with grace and patience. Moments of doubt and exhaustion surfaced, reminding her that resilience was a continuous process, not a destination. Throughout it all, Maya returned regularly to her karate practice. The dojo was her sanctuary, a place where physical movement and mental clarity intertwined. Training sessions with Mr. Lee became moments of meditation and renewal, reinforcing the lessons of discipline, balance, and humility that had guided her journey from the beginning. As the final semester unfolded, Maya felt a profound sense of readiness. She was no longer just a survivor or a student, she was a leader, a mentor, and a beacon of hope for others navigating their own struggles. The black belt she wore was a symbol not just of skill but of transformation, a testament to the strength found in vulnerability, the power of community, and the enduring spirit of perseverance. On graduation day, surrounded by friends and family, Maya reflected on the path that had brought her here. The fears, the battles, the friendships, and the growth had all woven together to create a story uniquely hers. With a heart full of gratitude and eyes set on the future, Maya stepped forward into the world, ready to continue her journey, to fight for justice, and to lead with love, courage, and unwavering strength. Maya's first year after college was a crucible of transformation, testing everything she had learned and challenging her to expand beyond the familiar comforts of academia and campus life. The world outside the university walls was vast, unpredictable, and full of both opportunity and uncertainty. Yet, equipped with the lessons of resilience, empathy, and courage, Maya stepped into this new chapter with determination and grace. Her black belt, once a symbol of personal survival, had evolved into a badge of leadership and hope, worn not only on her waist but in every step she took forward. Soon after graduation, Maya accepted a position at a non-profit organization dedicated to youth empowerment and bullying prevention. The work was demanding, requiring long hours, emotional investment, and creative problem-solving. Maya found herself advocating for programs in schools, organizing community events, and collaborating with mental health professionals. Her academic background gave her credibility, but it was her lived experience and authentic voice that made her an impactful leader. The transition was not without its struggles. The nonprofit sector's realities, limited resources, bureaucratic challenges, and the slow pace of systemic change, sometimes felt discouraging. Maya confronted moments of frustration and fatigue, questioning if her efforts would truly make a difference. During these times, she drew strength from her martial arts discipline and her network of friends and mentors who reminded her of the bigger picture and the incremental nature of meaningful progress. In her personal life, Maya nurtured relationships that continued to ground and inspire her. Jasmine, now pursuing graduate studies in social work, remained a constant source of support and collaboration. Together, they launched community workshops focusing on self-defense and mental health awareness, blending their skills and passions to reach a wider audience. Marcus and Tiffany, pursuing careers in education and counseling, respectively, joined forces with Maya, creating a powerful circle dedicated to youth advocacy and healing. Maya also began to explore new dimensions of her identity. The intersections of race, gender, and culture became central to her work and personal reflection. She engaged in dialogues and workshops that deepened her understanding of systemic inequities and the ways in which bullying was often rooted in prejudice and social marginalization. These insights enriched her advocacy, prompting her to develop programs that addressed not only individual empowerment but also community transformation. A defining moment came when Maya was invited to speak at a national conference on bullying prevention and youth leadership. Standing before a large audience of educators, policymakers, and advocates, she shared her journey candidly, the struggles, the triumphs, and the ongoing commitment to change. Her speech, infused with passion and authenticity, sparked conversations and connections that expanded her influence and opened new avenues for collaboration. Despite the demands of her career and activism, Maya prioritized self-care and balance. She returned regularly to her karate practice, sometimes teaching classes to young girls in underserved communities. The dojo remained a sacred space where physical discipline met emotional healing, and where Maya could reconnect with the core of her strength and purpose. As the years progressed, Maya's impact grew. She developed mentorship programs, authored articles on bullying prevention, and became a sought-after speaker and consultant. Yet, she remained humble, grounded by the memories of her own journey and the relationships that had sustained her. One quiet evening, reflecting on a life marked by challenge and transformation, Maya understood that her story was not about a single victory but about the ongoing journey of resilience, love, and leadership. The black belt she wore symbolized more than martial arts mastery. It embodied a philosophy of strength through compassion, courage through connection, and power through service. Maya's path was a testament to the human spirit's capacity to rise above adversity and to forge a future defined not by pain but by purpose. With each step forward, she carried the legacy of those who had shaped her and the hope of those she would continue to inspire. Her story, still unfolding, was a beacon, illuminating the way for others to find their own strength and light amidst the challenges of life. Maya's journey into her mid-20s unfolded as a mosaic of new challenges and deepening commitments, a testament to how the lessons of her past continue to shape her evolving identity. The nonprofit where she had worked since graduation expanded its reach, and Maya found herself stepping into broader leadership roles that demanded strategic thinking, advocacy skills, and the delicate balance of hope and pragmatism. Her black belt, once a symbol of personal resilience, now represented the philosophy guiding her work, strength grounded in empathy and action. One of the most significant initiatives Maya spearheaded was a statewide program aimed at training teachers and school counselors in trauma-informed approaches to bullying. This program combined her academic insights with the raw truths of lived experience, offering practical tools for creating inclusive and supportive school climates. The work involved long hours of planning, outreach, and coordination, but Maya was energized by the tangible impact she witnessed as schools adopted new policies and students felt safer and more empowered. Maya's role also led her to collaborate with local law enforcement and policymakers, navigating the complexities of systemic change. These partnerships were sometimes fraught with tension, as differing priorities and perspectives surfaced. Yet, Maya's ability to listen deeply and communicate authentically helped bridge divides and foster dialogue. She became known not only as a passionate advocate but as a skilled negotiator and bridge builder. Someone who could turn conflict into opportunity for understanding and growth. Her personal life continued to flourish alongside her professional achievements. Jasmine and Maya's friendship, rooted in years of shared struggles and triumphs, evolved into a powerful alliance dedicated to community uplift. Together, they organized self-defense workshops, mental health seminars, and youth leadership camps that blended physical empowerment with emotional resilience. These programs reached diverse populations, from urban centers to rural communities, embodying the inclusive vision Maya had always held. Marcus and Tiffany remained integral to Maya's support network, each pursuing careers that complemented their shared mission. Their gatherings, whether casual dinners or strategic planning sessions, were filled with laughter, honest conversations, and unwavering encouragement. These friendships were a sanctuary, reminding Maya that leadership thrived best in community. Amid her expanding influence, Maya also embraced opportunities for personal growth and exploration. She pursued advanced training in counseling, deepening her capacity to support individuals navigating trauma and adversity. This education enriched her work and personal understanding, allowing her to hold space for others with greater compassion and skill. Maya's martial arts practice continued to be a cornerstone of balance and renewal. Teaching classes for young women remained especially meaningful, a way to pass on not just physical skills but a mindset of confidence, respect, and inner strength. The dojo was a living classroom where the values of discipline, humility, and perseverance were embodied and celebrated. A pivotal moment came when Maya was asked to contribute to a national task force on youth violence prevention. This platform amplified her voice, enabling her to advocate for policies that addressed the root causes of bullying, including systemic inequities and social marginalization. Maya's contributions helped shape recommendations that prioritized prevention, education, and community engagement. Despite the accolades and responsibilities, Maya stayed grounded by remembering the roots of her journey. She often reflected on her early days as the new black girl at Lincoln High, the fears, the isolation, the unexpected discovery of karate as a refuge and source of power. Those experiences remained a compass, guiding her toward authenticity, resilience, and service. On a reflective evening, as Maya stood in a quiet dojo after a class, she looked around at the faces of the young women she taught, each on their own journey of growth and self-discovery. The realization dawned that her story was no longer just her own, it was woven into the lives of those she touched, a ripple of strength and hope spreading outward. Maya's path was a living testament to the transformative power of resilience, community, and love. Her black belt symbolized more than martial arts mastery, it was a metaphor for the strength found in embracing vulnerability, the courage to face adversity with grace, and the commitment to lead with heart. As she moved forward, Maya carried with her the knowledge that true leadership was not about perfection or control but about connection, compassion, and the unwavering belief in the potential for change. Her story, still unfolding, illuminated a path for others, inviting them to step into their own power and light amidst the complexities of life. Maya's journey into her late 20s and early 30s marked a period of profound expansion and transformation, both personally and professionally. The foundations laid during her youth, the resilience forged in the face of bullying, the discipline honed through karate, and the empathy cultivated by her own struggles, now blossomed into a multifaceted career and a deeply rooted sense of purpose. Maya was no longer just a survivor or an advocate, she had become a visionary leader dedicated to creating systemic change and empowering the next generation. Professionally, Maya's influence grew steadily as she took on executive leadership roles within prominent nonprofit organizations focused on youth empowerment, mental health, and social justice. Her work expanded beyond bullying prevention to encompass broader issues of equity, inclusion, and community healing. She spearheaded initiatives that brought together educators, policymakers, families, and young people themselves, emphasizing collaboration and shared responsibility. One of Maya's most ambitious projects involved launching a national campaign aimed at integrating martial arts principles, such as discipline, respect, and resilience, into school curricula as tools for both physical and emotional empowerment. This innovative program gained widespread attention, bridging gaps between physical education, mental health support, and character development. Maya's vision was clear: to create environments where young people could cultivate inner strength and confidence, reducing vulnerability to bullying and fostering healthier communities. Despite the demanding nature of her work, Maya maintained a steadfast commitment to self-care and personal growth. She continued her martial arts training, earning additional black belt degrees and certifications that deepened her understanding of the mind-body connection. Teaching remained a vital part of her life. Through workshops and mentorship, she shared not only techniques but also the philosophies that had sustained her through adversity. Her personal relationships flourished as well. Maya and Jasmine's friendship, rooted in years of mutual support and shared mission, evolved into a lifelong partnership of collaboration and sisterhood. They co-founded a community center that offered comprehensive resources for youth and families, blending mental health services, educational programs, and physical fitness opportunities under one roof. Marcus and Tiffany remained integral to this circle, their diverse talents contributing to the center's success and impact. Maya's family, too, became a source of renewed connection and healing. Over time, difficult conversations with her mother and sister led to greater understanding and reconciliation. Maya's role as a bridge between generations deepened, and she embraced the complexities of family with compassion and patience, recognizing that love often required continual effort and grace. A turning point in Maya's journey came when she was invited to speak before a congressional committee on youth violence prevention and mental health funding. Her testimony, grounded in research, personal narrative, and community experience, was compelling and impactful. She advocated for policies that addressed systemic inequalities, increased support for trauma-informed education, and promoted holistic approaches to youth development. This moment marked a milestone, amplifying her voice on a national stage and influencing legislation that would shape the future of youth services. Throughout these accomplishments, Maya remained deeply aware of the ongoing nature of healing and growth. She faced setbacks, funding challenges, political obstacles, and moments of personal doubt. But each was met with the same determination and resilience that had carried her through her earliest struggles. Her black belt, once a symbol of individual defense, now embodied a philosophy of enduring strength through community, adaptability, and heart-centered leadership. One evening, as Maya closed the doors of the community center after a day filled with workshops, mentoring sessions, and planning meetings, she paused to reflect. The faces of the young people she served, each with their own stories of pain and hope, reminded her why she had chosen this path. Her journey was a living testament to the power of transformation, the impact of compassion, and the importance of creating spaces where everyone could thrive. Maya's story continued to unfold, a beacon of inspiration and possibility. She understood that true change was a collective endeavor, fueled by connection, courage, and unwavering belief in human potential. With each step forward, Maya carried the legacy of those who had come before her and the promise of those who would follow, illuminating a path toward a more just, compassionate, and empowered future. Maya's story entered a new dimension as she embraced motherhood, weaving the threads of her past, present, and future into a tapestry of love, challenge, and legacy. The birth of her daughter, Amara, was a profound milestone, one that deepened Maya's understanding of strength, sacrifice, and hope in ways she had only begun to grasp. Motherhood brought both joy and complexity, intertwining with her ongoing mission to empower youth and transform communities. Balancing the demands of her career with the responsibilities of parenting tested Maya's resilience and adaptability. Sleepless nights and the constant attention a newborn required contrasted sharply with her usually structured, purposeful days. Yet, Maya found that the lessons from her martial arts training, the importance of patience, presence, and flexibility, were invaluable in this new chapter. She learned to move with the rhythms of motherhood, embracing the unpredictability while holding on to her sense of self and purpose. Amara grew quickly, a bright and curious child with a spark that reminded Maya of her younger self. Maya was intentional about creating a nurturing environment where Amara could explore her identity and strength safely. She introduced her daughter to karate early on, not just as a physical discipline but as a way to cultivate confidence, respect, and emotional balance. The dojo became a special space for their bond to deepen, a place where mother and daughter shared sweat, laughter, and quiet moments of reflection. At the same time, Maya remained deeply engaged in her advocacy work. She adjusted her schedule and priorities to accommodate motherhood without losing sight of her vision. This balancing act illuminated the realities many women face, juggling personal aspirations with family demands, and strengthened Maya's commitment to supporting other women leaders and caregivers. She began mentoring young mothers in her community, offering guidance on navigating career growth, self-care, and family life. Maya's work also evolved to include programs focused specifically on supporting families affected by bullying, trauma, and systemic inequities. She developed parent education workshops, family counseling services, and community events that fostered connection and resilience. These initiatives reflected her holistic understanding that healing and empowerment extend beyond individuals to the networks that sustain them. As Amara grew older and entered school, Maya faced new challenges. She was vigilant about ensuring her daughter's environment was safe and inclusive, advocating for anti-bullying policies and cultural competency within the school system. Maya's past experiences fueled her determination to create spaces where Amara and all children could thrive without fear or exclusion. Maya also navigated complex conversations with Amara about identity, race, and resilience. She shared stories of her own struggles and triumphs, emphasizing the importance of self-love, empathy, and standing up for justice. These dialogues were tender and sometimes difficult, but they laid the foundation for a relationship built on trust and mutual growth. Throughout these years, Maya's circle of friends remained a source of strength and joy. Jasmine's own journey into motherhood mirrored Maya's, and their shared experiences deepened their bond. Marcus and Tiffany continued to be pillars of support, celebrating milestones and offering a sense of community that enriched Maya's life. Professionally, Maya's leadership expanded as she took on advisory roles for national organizations focused on child welfare and educational equity. Her voice was sought in shaping policies and programs that addressed the interconnected challenges of bullying, trauma, and systemic injustice. Maya's approach, grounded in lived experience, research, and cultural humility, resonated widely, influencing practices and priorities across the country. One of Maya's proudest achievements during this time was the launch of a mentorship program pairing young girls with women leaders in their communities. This initiative, inspired by Maya's own journey and the mentors who had supported her, aimed to nurture confidence, skills, and aspirations. The program thrived, touching countless lives and reinforcing Maya's belief in the power of intergenerational connection. Despite the demands and complexities, Maya cherished moments of quiet reflection. She often returned to the dojo, where the steady rhythm of training and the presence of a supportive community provided balance and renewal. Here, she connected with the deeper essence of her journey, the intertwining of strength, compassion, and purpose. One evening, as Maya watched Amara practice her kata with focused determination, she felt a profound sense of gratitude and hope. The path had been long and, at times, arduous, but it was rich with meaning and promise. Maya's story was not only her own but a living legacy, one that wove together past struggles, present courage, and future possibilities. With heart full and spirit steady, Maya embraced the continuing journey ahead, ready to face whatever challenges and joys awaited. Her life was a testament to the enduring power of resilience, love, and leadership, a beacon guiding others toward their own strength and light in a complex world. As Amara approached her 10th birthday, Maya found herself watching her daughter with a mixture of pride and wonder. Amara was bold and expressive, her voice strong, her laughter infectious, and her confidence almost startling at times. She had Maya's determination, but she also carried something Maya hadn't had at that age, a sense of safety and belonging from the very start. Maya had worked tirelessly to provide that, building a life around emotional security and a foundation of trust. But parenting a daughter in a world still shaped by the same forces Maya had once battled required vigilance, grace, and constant learning. One autumn morning, Amara came home from school unusually quiet. Maya noticed the shift immediately. Her typically talkative daughter sat silently at the table, slowly picking at her after-school snack. Maya gently asked how her day had gone. At first, Amara shrugged. But then, after a long pause, she whispered, "Some kids were making fun of my hair." The words landed with a quiet sting, not just for what they were, but for what they represented, a passing of the torch Maya had hoped to delay for years longer. Maya didn't respond right away. She looked at Amara's coiled curls, the same deep texture Maya had learned to love through her own journey. She remembered sitting alone in the school cafeteria, her braids tugged at by giggling classmates, her name mocked and twisted. But she also remembered how her mother had held her face and said, "You're not wrong, baby. They just don't understand right." Maya drew in a breath and mirrored that gesture now, gently cupping Amara's chin. "They said what they said," Maya told her softly, "but it doesn't make it true. You know who you are." Amara looked up. It still hurt. "I know, baby," Maya said, hugging her close. "I know it does. But what do we do when we're hurt?" "We breathe," Amara murmured. "And then?" "Stand tall," Amara said, a little stronger now. "And remember what?" "That I'm powerful," Amara answered. "Exactly." After Amara went to her room to read, Maya sat alone in the living room, heart heavy but steady. These moments tested her in ways different from boardroom presentations or congressional testimony. Raising a black girl in America meant preparing her to carry both her light and the shield she might need. It meant teaching her how to fight without becoming hardened, how to be proud without apology, and how to stay tender in a world that could be rough. The next morning, Maya emailed Amara's teacher. Respectful but direct, she outlined the incident and requested a conversation. The response was positive, sympathetic, open to dialogue. When they met, Maya emphasized the importance of cultural sensitivity and proactive inclusion. She offered resources. The school counselor agreed to implement a new cultural appreciation module Maya had developed through her nonprofit. Progress. Small, steady, necessary. But Maya knew the deeper work had to happen at home. That weekend, she and Amara spent hours together, cooking, journaling, doing each other's hair. Maya told Amara stories from her childhood, not just the painful ones but the triumphant ones too. She described the first time she earned her black belt, the roar of the crowd, the feeling of power coursing through her limbs. She told Amara about Mr. Lee and how his lessons shaped the way she walked into every room after that. Amara asked 100 questions, her eyes shining. Then Maya asked, "Do you want to start training more seriously?" "Karate, I mean." Amara hesitated, then nodded slowly. Yes, she said. I want to feel strong the way you do. From that day forward, Maya and Amara trained together 3 times a week. It wasn't always easy. Amara grew frustrated with herself, impatient with drills, and sometimes unsure of her body. Maya had to balance being a teacher with being a mother, correcting her technique without discouraging her spirit. But they found their rhythm. On the mat, Maya was sensei, off it, mom. They learned to navigate that line with laughter, honesty, and shared determination. One afternoon, during sparring, Amara fell hard. For a moment, she lay there blinking, the wind knocked out of her. Maya knelt beside her. You okay? Amara sat up, brushing hair from her eyes. Yeah. It just surprised me. You want to stop? No, Amara said, standing. I want to try again. In that moment, Maya saw the full circle. Her daughter was growing into her own power, not in the absence of pain, but through it. Not by being spared the fight, but by being taught how to face it. And Maya knew then that every struggle she'd ever faced had built the foundation for this, to raise a girl who would never doubt her right to take up space, to speak boldly, to defend herself with pride. As the years passed, Maya continued to grow her nonprofit into a national force. She consulted on public education reform, developed trauma-informed training for school systems, and partnered with local governments to implement community healing initiatives. Her TED Talk, From Target to Teacher. The Power of Inner Defense, garnered millions of views, drawing attention from international organizations. She was nominated for several awards, honored at banquets where she stood in sleek gowns and spoke with poise. But she never lost sight of where it all started, in a high school hallway, with a broken lunch tray and a fire that refused to go out. Maya and Amara traveled together often, visiting schools and community centers across the country. Sometimes Amara spoke too, standing shyly at first beside her mother but growing bolder with each trip. She shared what it was like to learn karate, to face mean comments and still show up each day smiling. They were a powerful duo, living proof of what love, training, and truth could create. One day, after a long trip to Washington, D.C., Amara curled up next to Maya in their hotel bed. Mom, she whispered. What if someone never learns how to stand up for themselves? Maya looked at her daughter. Then we stand up for them until they can. Amara nodded. Like you did for me. Maya kissed her forehead. Exactly. Outside the window, the city buzzed with lights and possibilities. Maya looked out and remembered every step of the journey, the pain, the growth, the people who'd helped her stand when she didn't know how. Her story wasn't over, but she could feel the legacy taking shape, not just in speeches and programs, but in Amara's eyes, in her steady stance on the mat, in her willingness to rise again and again. Maya had become more than the girl who once fought back. She was a builder, a bridge, a mother, a mentor. Her black belt still hung in her closet, but the real belt, her courage, her compassion, her unwavering will, she wore every day. In boardrooms, in gyms, at bedtime. And now, Amara was learning to wear hers too. Whatever the world held next, Maya was ready. Because she had built something stronger than defense. She had built a legacy of light. Maya's journey stretched into her middle years, bringing fulfillment, challenges, and a deepening sense of legacy. As Amara entered her teens, Maya faced the delicate balance of nurturing her daughter's strength, protecting her from the world's cruelties, and guiding her in becoming her own champion. While professional success continued, with Maya leading national initiatives, giving talks, and being recognized, it was her work at home, heart-to-heart with Amara, that felt paramount. Watching Amara grow into a thoughtful, confident teen, Maya guided her through early encounters with school gossip, microaggressions, and self-doubt, teaching her to respond with courage, empathy, and calm assertiveness. Their shared karate practice evolved too, becoming more of a collaborative discipline where mother and daughter learned from one another, pushed each other to grow, and celebrated each breakthrough, big or small. Meanwhile, Maya's nonprofit expanded its reach and depth. She launched key programs to train schools and counselors, led collaborations with government and law enforcement, and introduced powerful mentorship networks for young black girls. Her TED Talk, From Target to Teacher, became a viral hit, and Maya was invited to speak before national commissions and boards, shaping policy and public opinion. Yet despite external accolades, Maya remained rooted in authenticity and service, her greatest honor always being the lives she lifted, the kids she helped, and especially the small, piercing moments with Amara. Late-night talks, shared workouts, and tearful conversations marked their bond. When Amara expressed, "What if there's someone out there who never finds their power?" Maya replied firmly, "Then we stand up for them until they do." And so they did, together, traveling from school assemblies to community centers, blending advocacy with personal presence, leading by example. As Maya reflected one evening, watching her daughter asleep after a long day on the road, she realized the legacy she built wasn't found in awards or speeches, but in the steady confidence in Amara's posture, the kindness in her words, the belief that each person deserves strength and dignity. The real black belt they wore was not leather and wood, but courage, compassion, and unwavering purpose. And as they both faced the road ahead, they walked it together, armed not just with skill, but with legacy, love, and limitless light. Maya stood at the threshold of tomorrow, reflecting on a lifetime defined by purpose, perseverance, and love. Her nonprofit had grown into a nationally respected institution, earning accolades for its groundbreaking work in trauma-informed education and youth empowerment. Her TED Talk, From Target to Teacher, continued to inspire millions, and her policy recommendations helped shape legislation advancing mental health services and anti-bullying protocols in schools nationwide. Yet despite all the external success, Maya quietly cherished the most transformative victories in her home, watching her daughter Amara blossom into a young leader with quiet power and boundless empathy. Amara had become the embodiment of everything Maya had fought to build: confidence grounded in humility, strength guided by compassion, and a willingness to stand up not only for herself but for others who lacked a voice. Watching her daughter become an advocate for students facing discrimination or doubt filled Maya's heart with a gratitude deeper than any award ceremony. Every morning, mother and daughter shared a ritual, a short yoga sequence and a brief kata before starting their day. This ritual was a living meditation for both of them, a reminder that the discipline cultivated on the mat carried into the world in decision, posture, and presence. They practiced together not as teacher and student, but as allies. 2 generations learning from each other, forging a bond rooted in mutual respect and shared dreams. Their training led them to unexpected places. Invitations poured in from school districts, universities, and corporate workshops, asking them to share their story, teach their techniques, and lead workshops focused on empowerment through embodied awareness. Though Maya still took the lead in most of these venues, attendees were often surprised when a 16-year-old stepped into the spotlight beside her. Amara spoke softly but with conviction about what it meant to grow up seen, supported, and deeply loved. Both their voices wove together the message that legacy wasn't a trophy to be displayed, but a torch to be passed, a fire to be kindled in new hearts. Maya balanced these public roles with the quieter work at home, providing space for family dinners, laughter-filled game nights, and moments when Amara would curl up in her lap to cry through middle school heartbreak or academic pressure. It was in these intimate moments that Maya's greatest lessons unfolded, lessons about sorrow and resilience, vulnerability and trust, storms and calm. Her husband Lucas, once a fellow volunteer at their community center, now assisted in program development and grant writing. Theirs was a partnership forged through shared mission and mutual respect. Late nights often found them comparing notes on an upcoming training, reading to Amara before bed, or simply sharing grateful smiles in the kitchen. Maya marveled at how a life built on struggle and perseverance had led her to this space of abundance, not of wealth or fame, but of depth, belonging, and profound human connection. One fall evening, after a long day of speaking engagements, Maya found herself alone in her office. The walls were lined with framed photos, Amara's first kata, Jessica's graduation, families at workshops smiling in solidarity, and candid shots from outdoor classes. She gazed at each image, memories rippling through her. It was there she realized the significance of every step on her journey, from Detroit hallways and broken lunch trays to boardrooms and policy tables. Each bruise, each whispered insult, each spark of hope had forged a path not only for herself but for countless others. She closed her eyes and placed a hand over her heart, whispering gratitude for her grandfather, whose voice still guided her, telling her to stand tall, to forgive, to lead with compassion, to love without apology. She whispered thanks for her mother, who insisted Maya see her own worth. She whispered thanks for Tiffany, Marcus, Jasmine, Lucas, and the many others who showed her that change required community, humility, and courage. As darkness fell outside, Maya's phone buzzed. It was a text from Amara. "Mom, I got accepted into student government. Next week we talk to the whole middle school about kindness." Maya smiled through tears, imagining her daughter stepping up to the microphone and embodying everything they had built together. She sent back a heartbeat emoji and a simple reply, "I am so proud of you. Shine bright." Before heading to bed, Maya tucked the final program notes into her planner, closed the door to her office, and joined Lucas on the couch. They sat together in comfortable silence, the hum of their home enveloping them, books piled on the coffee table, sneakers drying by the door, the faint scent of green tea from Maya's mug. Years ago, this peace would have felt impossible, notebooks would have bristled with anxiety and fear. Now, it felt earned. As they drifted toward sleep, Maya whispered softly, "Whatever tomorrow brings, we'll face it together. With heart, with presence, and with the power we carry when we stand up for what matters." Lucas squeezed her hand, and they closed their eyes, believing in the promise of the legacy they were building with every breath, every step, every conversation. And so Maya's story, once defined by pain and survival, had become one of transformation, hope, and unwavering legacy. Not because she never fell, but because she chose to rise for herself and for others, again and again. Not because she found perfection, but because she believed in progress. And as she turned off the light and lay beside her family, the black belt hung silently in the closet, not a distant symbol of triumph, but a reminder of a life lived in purpose, light, and infinite possibility. Their story was far from over. It was just beginning anew. Maya's life had unfolded into a tapestry of meaning and legacy, but as the calendar turned toward the next season, a new challenge emerged, one that would call upon every lesson she had learned and every strength she had cultivated. It began with a phone call from a high school friend, Sarah, now a school counselor in a small Midwestern town. Sarah's message was urgent. A group of students had faced a wave of targeted harassment, racial slurs, physical intimidation, and social isolation. The community was divided, and the school administration, overwhelmed, needed help. Sarah, overwhelmed and unsure where to turn, asked Maya to come. Without hesitation, Maya said yes. She packed her laptop, her black belt, and her heart into the car and set off toward a place she'd never been but whose pain felt strangely familiar. Arriving in Harvest Ridge, Maya was struck by its small-town charm, tree-lined streets, brick schools, a tight-knit community. But she quickly realized the beauty masked deeper wounds. The affected students were fracturing, some afraid to attend class, others acting out in anger or withdrawal. Parents were split between defending their kids and pushing the school to respond. Teachers walked halls with anxious looks, while the harassed students flinched at each passing glance. This was not Lincoln High of her teenage years, it was smaller, quieter, and harder to see from the outside. But the pain was no less real. Maya met with Sarah and the principal, their eyes reflecting weariness and desperation. They laid out the issues. A handful of students, mostly students of color, some recent immigrants, had been singled out by a group of peers. The bullying had escalated after a racial incident online, and the school's usual interventions, suspending a few teens, holding a few discussions, hadn't stopped the cycle. Fear and mistrust had rooted themselves in school culture. Maya listened, her own memories stirring as she recalled the lunch trays, the whispers, the name-calling. But she also remembered the moments when courage sparked and things shifted. Now it was time to offer her help. That evening she facilitated a listening session, enough adults to make space for the students but few enough that voices could be heard. Teens gathered in a circle, some guarded, some aching, some resigned. Each student carried their story in their eyes. Maya started simply. "You all are here because this hasn't been okay. I know we can fix it, but first, we need to hear you." She told her own story in bare truth, the loneliness at Lincoln High, the way strength came through aligning heart and discipline. Silence settled. Then a girl named Amina spoke, voice small and trembling. She described being shoved in the hallway, hearing slurs in the bathroom. A boy named Carlos shared how he'd stopped eating lunch, choosing to skip school instead. A white athlete said he had friends pressuring him to join the torment wave. Maya leaned into the pain, offering validation and empathy, bridging gaps with compassion. Over 3 days, Maya held circles that included students, parents, and staff. Each meeting peeled back more layers, fear turning into shame, shame into understanding, understanding into commitment. Maya didn't offer quick fixes, she coached them to co-create a healing plan, peer accountability teams, student-led assemblies, anonymous reporting systems, restorative justice circles, and teacher training on bias awareness. She helped them identify student allies, positions of privilege willing to speak up, and reinforced that changing culture meant shifting power dynamics, not just policies. Between meetings, Maya worked with Sarah to support the most affected students, one-on-one, checking in on their mental health, helping them reconnect with interests that had been suppressed by fear. She spent afternoons in class, modeling presence and cool confidence, guiding students through breathing practices, posture alignment, confidence cues. She demonstrated a simple kata, not to teach karate, but to teach breathing, grounding, the way one form can help reset a wound-opened mind. In that small gym, young people saw what dignity looked like, even after pain. Parents were next. Maya led a workshop called Healing Begins at Home, helping parents talk to their children about respect, identity, empathy. She built tools to support culture change at home and community. Her grandfather's voice whispered in her mind, "Strength is shared." She passed it on. By the end of the week, Harvest Ridge mirrored a metamorphosis. Students organized a unity walk, led by Amina, Carlos, the athlete, and others. They tied ribbons, read pledges, committed to respect. Administrators nodded. Journalists covered it. The tension didn't evaporate, but the rupture had begun to mend. Maya watched the group stand unified, the air lighter for holding their truths. Before leaving, she met Sarah, teary-eyed and grateful. "You gave us the courage we forgot we had," Sarah said. Maya squeezed her friend's hand. "You all gave it back, your voices, your presence. That's always been the power." She hugged Sarah and the principal. She walked down the school steps into a sunlight-flooded morning, heart full and steady. Driving home, the road stretching ahead, Maya reflected on how every chapter of her life had built toward this, but it hadn't always felt possible. The girl at Lincoln High, the college leader, the non-profit founder, the policy advocate, the mother, each role had added muscles of empathy, courage, listening. Each loss and triumph had created depth. And now, a teen in a small town had been seen and supported. When she arrived back home, Amara ran into her arms, older now, poised already with a heart that had learned classmate care. They held each other, a passing of torches unheard but deeply felt. That night, Maya sat with Lucas and Amara by the fire, telling the story of Harvest Ridge. Amara listened, absorbing not just actions, but the empathy behind them. Months later, she used the story in a school-wide show and tell, her voice steady. "It matters to see one another," she told her peers. Courage is listening, too. Maya realized that the legacy she had long chased was no longer confined to lectures, belts, or labels. It was alive, expanding, evolving, breathing, in every community touched by presence and care. The path carried on, one listening circle at a time, one story held, one child seen. Under the quiet night sky, Maya closed her eyes and whispered softly, "We stand up for those who need us. We stand together." And in the embrace of home, of family, of community restored, she believed in the promise of tomorrow, because courage and compassion, when wielded together, were the truest power she had ever carried. Maya awoke in her own bed, the morning light streaming through curtains worn soft with time. The events at Harvest Ridge still hummed through her mind, the voices she had carried, the courage they found, the whispers of possibility in a small town hallway. She reached for her cup of green tea across the nightstand, fingertips brushing the smooth wood, feeling the echo of her grandfather's words, "The size of your courage is measured by the size of your heart." Downstairs, Amara had already emerged like dawn. She padded into the kitchen, dressed in her school uniform, hair neat, eyes bright. When she saw her mother, she smiled, quietly, knowingly. "Mom," she said, voice soft. "I shared the story with my poetry class. They said it felt like a movement." Maya felt pride ripple through her chest. "I'm so proud of you," she whispered, pulling her daughter into a hug. After school that afternoon, Maya prepared for her next public appearance, this time before the State Board on Education, invited to speak about restorative justice and trauma-informed education. Her words had already shaped school policies in districts across the region, but this was another step, another layer of possibility. The black belt at her waist felt taut with purpose. The evening sun settled like calm in the sky as Maya took the podium. The board members were seated behind a polished table, their faces expectant, pens poised. Outside the window, the last children of the day walked through grounds dotted with autumn leaves. Maya inhaled, exhaled, and began. "Honorable members of the board, thank you for the opportunity to stand before you today. I stand beside students like those I met last week in Harvest Ridge, young people whose dignity was threatened until we chose to listen. I stand beside parents who've broken generational cycles of silence to ask for justice. I stand beside teachers and counselors who carry the weight of crisis with tender hearts. Tonight, I invite you to shift the lens away from isolation and punishment, and toward healing and connection." She spoke of that listening circle, how tears broke walls, how empathy began to matter more than authority, how leadership was born not from silence but from shared vulnerability. She described the student-led unity walk and the teachers who chose to listen and guide instead of dictate. Maya spoke until her voice rose to a crescendo built on narratives both broken and hopeful. When she finished, silence settled in the room, the kind that felt full with recognition. A moment later, one by one, the board members began to nod. Then, with quiet authority, they began to speak. "This is what we need. This is the future of education. This is what healing looks like." An avalanche of affirmation followed, a promise of funding, pilot programs, and a statewide initiative. As applause filled the room, Maya felt herself both humbled and lifted. This was the sound of possibility. Driving home later, the night sky above was deep as velvet, full of lanterns in the trees. Maya thought about Harvest Ridge, about the teens who stood tall. Tonight, those whispers became action. Tonight, the world chose hope. At home, Maya found her family asleep, safe and warm. In that quiet moment, she opened her journal and wrote. "Every child deserves to be seen, not for their wounds, but for their worth. Every teacher deserves to be respected, not for authority, but for compassion. And every community deserves to heal. Not by ignoring pain, but by weaving threads of empathy into the fabric of education." Tonight, Harvest Ridge became a whisper-turned anthem. May more whispers rise. She closed the journal and whispered into the hush, "Our work goes on, Amara." In her dream, Amara answered, "Together." In the world beyond her window, leaves trembled in the midnight breeze. Far from silence, change was stirring, one story, one school, one policy at a time. And from that stirring grew a movement, unfolding, ongoing, unstoppable. Driven by courage, compassion, and the resolute promise to stand for those who cannot. Because that's what resistance looks like. In presence. In listening. In standing firmly and lovingly in the gap, until the world begins to bend toward justice, toward healing, toward home. Maya awoke in a sunrise sky of possibility, her journey in Harvest Ridge still pulsing within her like hope in action. But as the day began, she felt the familiar tug of momentum, the blackout between change being witnessed and change being woven. A new chapter was unfolding, and Maya knew it, felt it. She would follow it forward, one story, one school, one soul at a time. That morning, she sat with Lucas and Amara over breakfast. Amara's eyes were bright with excitement. The poetry class had invited her back to lead a third story circle. Lucas, finishing his coffee, suggested, "Maybe you'd like to ask Mom if you can bring some of that healing work into your school, too?" Amara considered, nodding softly. "Maybe I will," she whispered. Maya beamed, her heart full enough to burst. Later that afternoon, Maya walked through the state capitol halls. Security passed nods over her badge. Students from Harvest Ridge had come, too, standing tall, wearing their school's colors. Other young leaders stood by, students from diverse districts who had joined forces through Maya's network. Many of them had their own stories of hurt and healing. They sat in the audience as Maya took the floor to explain the next step, how to structure a scalable way for youth-to-youth peer circles, supported by evidence-based training, restorative frameworks, and wraparound services for families. Across the room, the board members nodded, key legislators took notes. A lawmaker from a nearby district stood, asked to speak. With steady voice, she offered to co-author a bill in the next session, the Restorative Teaching and Peer Leadership Act, she called it, to ensure that empathy isn't optional in our schools, it's foundational. Maya's heart thundered. The room rose into supportive applause. Students cheered. In that moment, it felt like the world leaned in to listen, and maybe even changed course. That evening, back home, Maya received a message from a high school teacher in a major city. "Your workshop content is being implemented with our staff next week. We're ready." Another alert, an educator in rural Alaska had requested remote training. "Can Amara join, too?" she asked. Maya smiled. Her daughter's legacy was beginning even now. Under the kitchen light, Maya tucked Amara into bed. The curtains danced with the night breeze. Amara yawned, then whispered, "Mom, thank you, for changing things." Maya leaned in, brushing a loose curl from her daughter's face. "It wasn't me alone. It's people like you, everywhere, standing up, speaking out. You show us how far we've come." Amara closed her eyes. "Good night, Mom. Good night, love." In her own room, Maya stood by the window, looking up at the constellations that had marked so many nights, those same constellations that her grandfather had once pointed out. She traced the patterns, her mind connecting memories to movement to mission. Healing isn't linear, she thought. It is amidst the hard, the messy, the unstoppable. She thought of Harvest Ridge, the students who found the courage to speak, the administrators who chose a new path, the teacher's words, the parents standing still long enough to hear. Then she thought of districts that would follow. Of Amara, practicing lines of voice and power and presence. Of tomorrow's classrooms, ready for new models of connection. Her email pinged. It contained the first draft of the Restorative Teaching Bill, pages filled with new language for new hope. She scrolled through. Every clause was a promise: peer-led circles, survivor support teams, equity training, family partnerships. It was real. It was tangible. It would matter. Leaning forward, Maya typed her sign-off: "Here's to the stories we carry and the futures we build. Let's move forward, together." She closed the screen, stood, and tapped the black belt hanging nearby, a well-worn leather ribbon of instinct, power, and presence. She tied it around her waist as she had done thousands of times, in dojos, in gatherings, in quiet mornings and loud halls. She felt its weight settle on her spine. A final draft. A new policy. A daughter learning to stand. A movement dawning, a possibility built on presence and perseverance. Maya stepped outside into the night air. The first chill of fall was in the breeze. Leaves rustled, carrying seeds of future forests. She breathed deeply, exhaled. In presence. In purpose. In powerful rootedness, she heard again the memory that had shaped it all. Strength is shared. And so she carried on, one quiet ties into hundreds, into thousands, into the future. Woven with stories, courage, and the unbreakable thread that runs from heart to world. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough?